This weekend we saw the biggest WTF moment of the year when former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner announced on Saturday morning that she was running for Vice President of Argentina. The fuck? Yes, against all odds, and right when polls suggested that she could defeat Mauricio Macri in October, Cristina announced that she had decided to take the back seat and that she was going to be Alberto Fernández's running mate, who until then, no one knew he was running for anything. Also, I know you have no idea who the hell Alberto Fernández is. More on that later. So, besides ruining the weekend of every single journalist in the country and journalists abroad who couldn't stop talking about how much of a surprise this was, Cristina's announcement left a large number of Argentines scratching their heads, thinking, what the hell is happening? First, why doesn't Cristina want to be president? Second, again, who the hell is Alberto Fernández? And third, both of their last names are Fernández, which means this is going to be the weirdest sounding ticket since Frank and Claire Underwood ran for office in 2016. For more on this, it's time for another episode of WTF. Race to the Senate? FYI, I'm aware that only a few episodes ago we established a comparison between politics and Game of Thrones, and now we're comparing it to Veep, another incredible HBO show. But I promise you, HBO is not giving me any money for this. If anyone from HBO is watching, I wouldn't mind if they did, but unfortunately they don't. Yes, on Saturday, not only everyone was comparing her to Vice President Selina Meyer, but also the memes were out of control, such as this one showing in red countries around the world in which the vice presidential candidate announces who she's picking to be her running mate. Or as this one making fun of the whole Fernández thing. Now, before we look into why Cristina is doing this, let's focus on her running mate, aka that dude that's going to be president if she wins. And let me just say, don't feel bad if you don't know who he is. Most Gen Zers who can vote for the first time this year also have no idea who he is, just like they don't know what a rotary phone was or why Paris Hilton was once relevant. Alberto Fernández may sound like a new name to some, but he's been around for a long time. Except for over a decade, he's been mostly playing politics behind the scenes. He was a very close confidant of Néstor Kirchner and was appointed his chief of staff in 2003 when Kirchner became president. In 2007, when Cristina was elected president, Fernández remained in his post as chief of staff, but resigned in 2008 during the historic war between the farming sector and her administration. After that, his relationship with Kirchner soured. He created his own party called Parte and tried to turn other Peronist leaders such as Sergio Massa and Florencio Randazzo into presidents, which didn't really work. Before all this, he was considered a very loyal man to Néstor Kirchner, who was a centrist, and he didn't really seem to like Cristina's polarizing ways. In fact, he was extremely critical of her during her second term, during which he said things like this. Awkward. But that was the past, or at least that's what Fernández says, because he claims Cristina has matured and that they grew apart because of politics, just like all Argentines do. Now, besides the anecdotal, which I admit can be pretty funny, where does he stand on the issues? Well, he only kicked off his campaign on Monday, and so far he hasn't said much, but mainly it sounds like he intends to bring a conciliatory tone, unlike Cristina, who has always been confrontational. He says that instead of tolerating those who think different, he will respect them. Now again, this obviously sounds like a great idea, and it's for sure something Argentine society desperately needs in order to get rid of La Grieta. But I swear to God. But the problem is that many people are finding this hard to believe, especially since now that he's running for president, a lot of, let's just say, unflattering tweets have surfaced in which he picks fights with people who criticize him and says things like these. Well, the problem is that many people are finding this hard to believe, especially since now that he's running for president, a lot of, let's just say, unflattering tweets have surfaced in which he picks fights with critics and says things like, "I'm doing great, you son of a bitch." Or when he tells now presidential candidate José Luis Espert that he's a jerk-off. Or this one, in which he tells a critic, "I celebrate a jerk-off your size doesn't appreciate me." Classy. Now, let's remember that, 1, swearing on Twitter doesn't disqualify you from running for president, and 2, that is a goddamn use of a GIF, so he probably has my vote. I can't vote because I'm Spanish, but you know what I mean. What I'm saying is that Cristina is taking a pretty big gamble on him, which leads us to the second big question of the week. Why doesn't Cristina want to be president? Well, on her announcement on Facebook, she claims that she is leaving personal ambition behind and is willing to help the country from where she's most useful. But a lot of people aren't buying that and say that she's doing it because even though a lot of people are willing to vote for her, a lot of voters remain undecided and may choose a third option in case of a runoff because they simply don't like her. By getting herself out of the way and bringing a more moderate candidate, non-Kirchnerista Peronist, could suddenly join them and create a big Peronist coalition against Macri. Others claim that by becoming vice president, which also means president of the Senate, she is buying herself additional immunity, considering that she's still facing several corruption trials. One of them, coincidentally, started yesterday. So there you have it. In the meantime, her announcement this Saturday has thrown Argentina's political world into turmoil, with everyone suddenly trying to plan their next moves in this new unexpected scenario. Mainly because the proposal of a less radical, more moderate Kirchnerism may be appealing to a lot of voters who are considering that third option, just because they didn't like Macri or Cristina. Roberto Lavagna has finally announced that he's running, and the non-Kirchnerista Peronists from Alternativa Federal, Miguel Ángel Pichetto, Juan Manuel Ortubey, Sergio Massa, and Juan Schiaretti, are scheduled to meet today to evaluate their new strategy. For now, AF has insisted they won't be competing against the Fernandez ticket in the primaries, but considering that we're exactly 1 month from the deadline to register who's running with who, hate to sound like a broken record, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. I still have more angry tweets from Alberto Fernandez, guys, but they all need to be censored. Can someone bring me that cheat sheet? Jesus Christ. This one's blank. But they're not blank, I swear. Boludo, boludo, pelotudo, jerk off, jerk off. Lots of jerk offs. You son of a bitch. Another jerk off. You know what? This sounds much better with the music from Veep in the background. Oh, we're doing it? Awesome. Great. Okay, done. The word of the week is pelotudo. Pelotudo is a very strong insult that is much stronger than boludo. Now, they both mean that you're an idiot, but pelotudo is more like, you fucking idiot.